Welcome, everybody. If more come in, I'm going to let them in. Welcome. This is Brandon Morris, who I know very well, and Curt Kanemoto. I should know how to say that,
That's
right?
correct.
Thank you. So they're here to talk to you. I'm not even going to read their bios because I think they can do it themselves, right? Oh, that's right. And Mr. Osana's in here, Brandon.
No way.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so excited right now and getting a little bit nervous, Mr. Osano. So Curt, Mr. Osano is my middle school video production teacher. He is the one that we get to blame all this on because he's the one that sparked my interest back in 6th and 7th grade.
Proud of you.
So it's great. I've got Mr. Osano, then Mrs. O. All my middle school to high school teachers, my teachers are here for video productions. It's so awesome. So awesome.
All right, you guys are on your own. I'm just gonna step away right here.
All right. Well, hello everybody out there in the STN world. I am super excited to finally be able to chat with all of you and give a chance to really give you an inside look on set life, but also to go, hey, I don't want to say 15 years ago, but yeah, 10 or 15 years ago, I was in your seat in high school in video production classes, and boom, it is actually possible, as Curt will also say, it is possible to make a living being in the film and television industry. And yeah, so the main goal was to, real quick about myself, I have grown up in Los Angeles, about 45 minutes north of Hollywood, my whole life, luckily. And Mr. Osano is on this call. He was my middle school video production teacher. He got me into all this when back in the day when it was linear editing. If you know what the word linear editing means, power to you, because nowadays we're all non-linear. It was back the tape deck. Mr. Osano and I went to a whole bunch of film festivals back in the day. Some fun times, Mr. Osano. And then, of course, Mrs. O, who some of you know, she was my high school video production teacher. So between the two of them, I've got solid, 7 years of video production knowledge from them. And after that, I went to film school at Brooks Institute, their Film School of Television, where I met Curt Kanemoto, my co-host for today. Curt, he is a producer. We started off together there in film school, and I went one way, and Curt went the other way. And I am now directing commercials, and I own a production company, and Curt is producing massive feature films all over the world. A lot of them you have probably sat there in movie theaters and seen the DC comics, the Wonder Woman, Superman versus Batman, all the great stuff. And he'll get into all this fun set stories later on. So that's a real quick bio between the two of us. We've been friends for over a decade now, Curt. It's probably been 13, 14 years.
It's been 15 years.
15 years. There we go. So enough about talking about how old we are now. Not how old we are, but how much knowledge we've gained. That's the thing. How much knowledge we've gained through this wonderful industry that we get a chance to work in. Every single day, I'm just so blessed here in film and television. So as I said, I do a lot of commercials. I direct a lot of commercials, slowly trying to work my way into the narrative again. But directing and writing is where my heart is at. And I will never forget going on my very first film set when I was back in film school. It might even actually been high school. I forget when it was, and how nervous I was about it. And going, okay, I don't know all these different terms. I don't know who to talk to. I don't know what to do, all this kind of stuff. And so I wanted to go, okay, I wanted to kind of give in this class today a little bit of a breakdown of things you can expect, little code words that you'll hear on walkie-talkies and going, okay, that's what that means, or this is what I need to do when this happens, or just kind of break down the barrier basically and make it so you're not going to be as nervous and as scared as you might be going on to your first set, and make it an enjoyable thing and a really good teaching moment whenever you go on set. So that's kind of where we wanted to start through it. I will start at the very top. The first thing you will probably have contact with is through a production manager or a line producer, someone that hires you, right? Or a key production assistant will hire you. And the very first thing you'll receive from them is what's called a call sheet. I can't print any out or put it up on a screen because of confidentiality reasons, but if you search online, you'll find call sheets. Oh, sorry, phone's going off. Hopefully that will stop momentarily. Who's calling me on a Monday? So that is where you'll get all the information on who is who. I should have put that on Do Not Disturb, sorry. It'll stop eventually. The call sheet will... Is it going to stop? It stopped. Look at that. The call sheet's going to have everyone's name on it, even your name. I'm guessing the very first time you go on a set, you're going to be a production assistant. And a production assistant, also known as a PA, your name will be on that call sheet, and there'll be a time next to your name about what time you're supposed to get to the location. The call sheet has all the information you need, all the names of all the department heads, and like I said, everybody that's going to be on set, the location, time of arrival, nearest hospital, directions, parking directions, weather, everything. That is your one thing that you're going to be getting. But you probably won't get it until the night before you go to set, usually between like, let's say 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. at night. The reason being is that the sets during the day, if you're coming on to day 2 or day 3, they're always adjusting call times and locations depending on where the production's at. Schedule-wise. So if you're sitting there at 2 o'clock on the afternoon of the day before your first call sheet, your first on-set experience, and you go, I don't know where my call sheet is, where I haven't gotten it. Don't freak out. Don't panic. It'll get to you eventually. And if you don't get it, then get in touch with whoever brought you on, the production manager, line producer, so on and so forth. So going to that call sheet, I'm going to run through some basic positions that you're going to kind of want to know about of who you're going to be seeing running the set. I always thought the director ran the set or some big time producer would run the set, right? That is completely false. The first assistant director, also known as the first AD, is the person that runs that set. They're going to be the most vocal person. They're going to be not running around, but constantly knowing what is happening everywhere. If you ever have a question of what's coming up next, the first AD is going to have that answer. The first AD is the lead person for safety. So if there's ever any issues with safety concerns, the first AD is the person you're going to go to, and they run everything on it. So they're the person that you will want to get to know as the days go on. And of course, they have assistants. They've got the second AD and the second AD. You'll hear the term AD a lot. That just stands for assistant director. You also then have, of course, the director. The director will be either by the monitor or by the director of photography. And they usually tend to be a little bit quieter and focusing a lot on what's being captured, the story that they're trying to tell, whether it's the commercial realm, the television realm, feature film realm. They're really focused on this story. And so they're not focused on, oh, that truck needs to park there and that light needs to go there. No, none of that stuff. They're really focused on trying to capture everything for that story that they need to get on that day. So the first AD will work directly for the director. You'll see them talking a lot. The other person you'll see talking a lot and giving a lot of direction is the director of photography. That person is in charge of camera placement, lighting placement, helps with blocking with the director. So they are nonstop. They are all over the place. And then they have a lot of people that work underneath them. They've got a gaffer who is in charge of all the lighting. And then you got a key grip who's in charge of all the grip necessities, C-stands, dollies, cranes, overheads, 12-eye silks, all that kind of stuff. They're in charge of all that. And then below them, you've got grips and electrics. And then also in the camera department, you've got who's called the first AC, the first assistant camera. They work directly under the director of photography, and they are in charge of that whole camera department. They're not only just a focus puller, which is a massively important job. They are in charge of all the camera gear, and then of course, all the assistants that they have working underneath them. So you'll see them always near the camera. The reason I'm telling you all these different positions is one thing I always love to do whenever I'm on set, even today. For example, I was lucky enough to go on a feature set during this COVID time back in October, and I was there as a drone pilot. And I was able to watch everyone on set instead of having to be worrying about being the director and all these different things. I was still able to watch, and every single time you're on set, it's a learning experience. You get a chance to learn what that director of photography is doing to make that shot great. Why is he shooting here when the sun's over here? Why is he not asking for a 12 by overhead instead of putting a bounce? Why is a sound designer, a sound mixer booming it this way? Or why is the second AD having to hide over there in the bushes so that he or she can also yell action and cut to the actors because they're far away from the camera? So there's all these different moments when you're on set to learn what other crew members and crew positions are doing. And that is a great opportunity for you as a filmmaker to figure out, what position do I want to be in? What do I want to do? Because of course you might start as a production assistant. Production assistants are extremely hardworking, and they are extremely integral to the whole working cog of set life. But you don't want to be a production assistant for the rest of your life and the rest of your career, right? You want to slowly work up and learn different things. So say you're really interested in cameras, right? But you're a production assistant. There are internships and productions, and there are assistants in the camera department to the first AC and second AC and so on and so forth. So as you're the PA, and let's say you're on a commercial for 3 days, and you get a chance to say hi to them and say, hey, I really want to get into camera. I have been studying this and that. This is my favorite film. You just kind of start getting to know those people, because those people might be the people that will go, hey, I need a second AC, but my normal second AC isn't here, or I need a second. You know what? That person on set the other day was that PA that really showed a lot of interest. They were really hard workers. Let's give them a call, see if they're available, because with the film and television industry, it's all about sometimes who's available, because your main crew might not be available. And so you've got to bring in someone else. And that's when you start really getting a chance to get in and start working with a lot of people. So that's just kind of a little set life tip I've got. Don't just be concentrating on the job at hand, the task at hand, but always be looking around, not only for positions you might want to eventually fill, but also to be able to meet new people and be able to anticipate what they might need before they even ask you for it. If the camera is moving from here to over here, and over here you see there's a trash can in the background of that shot, you know they don't want that trash can in the shot because it's one of the ones you put there earlier in the day. Simply go move it out of the frame before they even have to ask. They might not notice that you did that, but I guarantee later in the day someone might say, hey, that PA was really, really smart, constantly moving things around and just one step ahead of everybody, never waiting to get asked to do something. So that's one thing to kind of be thinking about. One thing I have a pet peeve on is never looking at your phone while you're on set. You always want to be focused and being able to, you're basically in a you're getting paid to go to some sort of film school because you're learning a bunch. And so never be here with your phone on set looking at things and not paying attention. But as Curt said, unless your set is communicating in various chat apps and groups, which some sets are doing these days in order to be able to keep distance from each other. So that's one caveat to that.
Yeah, you never want to get caught scrolling on Instagram. That's like the last thing.
And you never really want to be caught, that person in the background taking that photo of that celebrity and then posting it to your Instagram account, right? You don't want to be that person. You want to be that hard worker. So always have your phone handy, always on silent, obviously, because you never know what you might need it for. You might need to call for lunch or call the caterer. The first AD goes, hey, we're 10 minutes behind, call the caterer real quick. So you always need your phone with you, but never have it out scrolling through Instagram. Your days are going to be long. So be prepared for that. Before you go into production, I'm always really watching my sleep schedule so I get as much sleep as possible, because when I get into production, I know I'm going to be drained. So really, really watch that. You might want to go hang out with the crew afterwards, but really, really know your body and get a lot of rest and hydrate a bunch. I know that seems very typical, but and another great thing about being a PA is if you want to go talk to a director or a DP and get some FaceTime with them, bring a water bottle and say, do you want some water? That is one thing, yes, they might say yes or no to, but they know you now have a face that they can now recognize because you went there and you offered them something that is really needed, hydration. So that's another little trick to get some FaceTime with someone high up. You want to blend in to set, but you also want to be visible. You don't want to be up against the wall and no one ever gets a chance to notice you, but you also want to be up against the wall and not bugging anybody because everyone's super busy and super chaotic about everything else that's going on. Like I said before, you always want to be trying to look at taking care of some issues before they even arrive. You never want to be in a situation where they're waiting for you to roll camera. That is very, very stressful. And yeah, you just never want to get caught in that. I think one of the most important things about being on set is becoming a problem solver and a quick problem solver. So let's go back to the other example. The trash can is now in this shot. Where do I put the trash can? Do I move it over here? Do I move it way over there? Trying to solve it sounds like it'd be so simple to do, right? But then you've got a truck over here, you got a truck over there, you got a generator here, you got cables. You can't roll over the cables. How do you deal with all this kind of stuff? Being able to think on your feet and being a quick, silent problem solver is a massively great talent. So in general daily life, just be thinking about different problems and how you can solve them, and try to keep those gears working in your head. Some fun little etiquette things. You're going to have walkie-talkies. You're going to have in-ear surveillance headsets. For production, you're always on channel 1. And channel 2, you're going to have, there's like 16 channels on the walkie. Channel 2 was always left open. You never want to say more than, correct me if I'm wrong, Curt, but the etiquette is you never want to say more than like 5 words on channel 1 or 3, 4, 5, or whatever. The goal for those channels is to always just be really quick. We're ready for so-and-so on set. Boom. Move that trash can. Boom. But if you have to have a long conversation, you move all the long conversations to channel 2.
100%.
So-and-so, go to channel 2. And then you move to channel 2, you have that conversation. Some other things, little things that took me a while to kind of figure out. You might hear some people going, hey, I'm going 10-1 or I'm going 10-2. 10-1 means I'm going to the bathroom, number 1. 10-2 means I'm going to go to the bathroom, number 2. So your crew kind of knows what's going on or where you went. You always want to, I know it's awkward, but you always want to make sure everyone knows where you're at. So they're not going, hey, where did Brandon go? I haven't seen Brandon for a bit. Someone go, oh, 10-1. And it's just more of a polite way to say all that kind of stuff, because we know you got to go. And so that's one quick tip that took me a little bit too long.
A little bit better than advertising that I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, a little bit better. The big thing about, I wanted to kind of, because I'm more experienced in the smaller and medium-sized sets, and I'm going to now turn the time over to Curt, who's been on these massive sets all over the world for seeing these big feature films. No matter what size set you're on, the rules and the etiquette kind of follow. I know if I were to go on one of Curt's sets in the future days, I'd be as nervous as can be, because it's massively operating machine. I always like to say we're going into battle, and literally there are so many things that are going to go wrong during that day, and you can plan as much as you want and everything is going to go away. So you always have to be thinking on your feet and constantly problem solving. So with that, I'll look through my notes as Curt keeps going, as Curt carries on through his experiences. Like I said, Curt, we are so thankful to have you here with us today. The amount of experience that you bring into this is massive, literally. So take it away, Curt.
Thanks so much, Brandon. And I just want to state real quick, I started with video production in 8th grade on one of those linear editing machines, VCR to VCR, back in the day when VCRs were a thing. And I did some video production throughout high school, making promo videos for the school for various events and things. And, just really fell in love with content creating and just creating new things through the medium of video and film. And through Brandon and I, in terms of our relationship and our experience in college, and just getting all of that hands-on learning with everything that we did at Brooks, it really led us to, our set of paths in terms of what we're exploring now. And just to give you a quick background, I'm one of the senior vice presidents at Atlas Entertainment. We made the Dark Knight trilogy, the Scooby-Doo series, live action series, and then my experience at the company in terms of being an executive has been working on the DC cinematic films. So that goes from Man of Steel as an associate producer, Batman versus Superman as a co-producer, Wonder Woman as a co-producer, Justice League as an executive producer, and we actually just sold a new film to New Line just last year that one of our colleagues, Jacob Chase, is writing and directing. So we're me and my colleague at Atlas are very excited about that. It's going to be one of our first films that we're producing as the top level producer, and it's just been a really great experience in terms of starting out exactly where you guys are in terms of being in that seat. So the future's bright. I know it's very rough right now with COVID, and a lot of things that we're telling you now might be changing in the near future in terms of protocol and groupings in terms of how set is run. So just keep that in mind as we are evolving in real time right now with this virus. Just in terms of some experiences that I've been through with these big films and just been so fortunate for, um, everything on set is truly the executing phase of what we call pre-production. And that's everything in terms of what we're going through in terms of how we're going to be capturing this moment on, on film, on digital, on whatever medium it's going to be. And the main thing is when you're on set, it's the most expensive time during a production's phase. So each day on one of these big superhero movies, it's costing somewhere between $300,000 to $400,000. So if you can imagine, every minute really does count. So we're not there for the first time looking at something like, how is this going to go? The director has already been thinking about the blocking for a long time. The DP has been thinking about how they're lighting it, so they're just executing at that phase. Talent already knows their lines, they've been rehearsing through that. The first AD knows the schedule and how the day is going to unfold in terms of, are we going to go wide first and cover our master, and then we're going to break down smaller and smaller so that we can get rid of all of the gack on set earlier and faster so that everyone can get out at a decent time. So those are the things that, just in terms of being on set, on why we're saying that we try to be as efficient as possible is not just because we want to be quick about it, it's because it's just costly. You have at some days, 200 extras on set, and all the costumers that are taking care of those people, and all the PAs that are helping with that process in the costume department. So it's a very expensive time during the production, and we want to make sure that we're delivering everything for the director, for he or she, so that they have that specific 10-hour window or 12-hour window to get everything captured that they want to get captured. So just some things that I want to run down with you guys in terms of some advice. As in life, it's always great to be early. I've never been punished for being early for anything. If you're that one PA that shows up 10 minutes late, 15 minutes late, people are going to take notice of that. Of course, life happens. There's some times that you are a little bit delayed, but don't make it a habit. Don't fall into the excuses of being late. I did that when I first started off. I paid the price for that. So I'm just telling you through experience, always try to, whatever you have to do, be early. And then that leads into the second thing, is be prepared. And what I mean by that is, as a PA, you're going to be doing things that aren't the most glamorous things on set. But there are things that are going to need to get done to be able to run set. Some of those things won't make production run as smoothly if you're not there. So what I mean by being prepared is, check the weather. Is it going to be storming the next day? Are you guys shooting outside? Did you bring, the correct weather gear for that? Are you wearing those brand new Nikes that are going to get completely ruined in the rain because you weren't thinking that through? So that's what I mean by being prepared. And also what Brandon was saying earlier is, you're going to be on your feet, 12, 13, 14 hours a day. Make sure whatever you're wearing is going to be comfortable throughout the day. I can't tell you how many times. Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, I will say this, and I actually just learned this 2 years ago. Have 2 different pairs of shoes, one for Monday, another for Tuesday. Then that one goes to Wednesday, then to Thursday. So you're switching pairs of shoes because, like I said, I just learned that 2 years ago from my DP, and it has changed my set life because your feet get very sore.
Very sore. And can't tell you how important it is just to have those necessities available to you, just in your car, in your trunk, just so that you can, if something does happen, you can change out, right? And the last thing is just be ready. And being ready means, like Brandon said earlier, don't be on your phone distracted by social media, be paying attention, be listening in, be an active listener so that you can understand and hear if, you might hear the second AD's radio go off, or them talking about what's going to go on after lunch when they flip around. Keep thinking about okay, if that's going to be happening, then I need to do X, Y, and Z on my list. And I should start thinking about how I can help out in terms of the wrap out today. So those are the things that, in terms of the three things, be early, be prepared, and be ready. And, going into communication, um, like Brandon said, you have to be quick. You have to try to figure out how to convey whatever you're trying to say back on the walkie or to your superiors or to your colleagues, quickly, efficiently, and completely. And the last thing you want to say is like, they're on their way, talent's traveling, and then you forgot to say which talent, which one are you in charge of, right? Or they're traveling to set, and you want to make sure that all of those things in terms of how you're communicating is fully thought out, and you're confident behind what you're saying back to them. And this is always the case, and I've been through this multiple times, is we're always going to do our best to plan for the day of until that plan doesn't work. And you have to be able to figure out how to adapt and how to adapt quickly and being willing to adapt. There's some days that you get rained out, but luckily your AD has planned for weather cover so that you're like, okay, we can't shoot that exterior shot, but we have everything else planned so that we can shoot inside right now. Or, hey, due to COVID, our main talent can't work today. We're going to be doing all those pickup shots that we've been planning. So it's, we can only do our best to plan, but, life changes so rapidly sometimes, especially with COVID these days, that adapting, especially if you can adapt during this time, you can adapt through anything else. That's the way I feel right now. We were lucky enough to be able to shoot a feature film, Uncharted, for Sony. That's based upon the video game. And they were actually able to get through the entire shoot without missing a single day, which is really impressive in terms of the planning, the prepping, and having, just in case plan in case someone got sick throughout or tested positive. So it's one of those things that we're really proud of as a production company, and we're really happy with to prove to the other studios, to the other production companies, that there is a path forward in terms of shooting through COVID times. And the last few things I just wanted to point out to you guys is, time is money, of course, but mission critical always is safety. And I really just want to go back to this because Brandon and I, growing up, a couple of years back in terms of in the early 2000s, there were some unfortunate deaths in terms of people working too many hours, too long of hours. And those are things that we just want to flag for you guys, like, working 20 hours straight, feeling sleep deprived. Those are all things that you have to check in with yourself and really understand, like, do I feel safe in this moment? And there are some times you're going to have to raise your hand and explain that to your key set PA or your second AD or someone along the lines, instead of saying, hey, this doesn't feel safe for me at this moment. And it's a hard thing to do. You can talk to your other colleagues about that, but the last thing that we want to run into is, making sure that, a set is always run safely. And the last thing is what Brandon's saying in terms of blend in but stand out, is if you do a good job, if you are thinking ahead and doing things with a smile, and you're being polite and courteous, and you're looking out for others, throughout the process, that definitely gets noticed. Those PAs that I see when I work on those films that are doing things like that, I always talk to my line producer or my production manager and say, that person needs to get rehired. Let's figure out a way. Or when does that person's time end? Let's make sure that we extend them. Let's find them a position later on, maybe in post. So I just want to speak from firsthand knowledge that that does pay off in terms of just doing a great job at whatever you're doing. Even if it feels really mundane, doing it with a good attitude is always picked up by somebody. So Brandon, is there anything else that you want to talk about, as we've gone through everything in set life and everything?
Well, what I would love is for some questions to start coming in. So if you have questions, correct me if I'm wrong, Mrs. O, but they just put it here in this chat, and then Mrs. O will go ahead and relay them to us, and we can start answering questions, because it's really weird for Curt and I, because we're usually do these kind of things in person, being able to see all your smiling faces and answering your questions. So I really want to make great use of this time and get some of your burning questions about set life answered. So if you have any of those questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll see if we can get to some of them. As we're waiting for those questions to come in, a couple more things kind of came to mind as Curt was talking. It is possible for you to get on set and to make a living out of this. I'm going to say this multiple times during this because I've already said this. Curt and I, as Curt was saying again, he was also started all video production back in high school, just as all of you watching right now are doing the same, or middle school. Whatever, luckily these days you're able to film something really simple on your camera, on your phones, right? Back in the day when I was your age, it was a big VHS camcorder that was on your shoulder, and you're going back and forth and lugging all this gear around. So never stop creating and never stop thinking and working hard. It pays off, and I'm going to say it again at the end of this. It is possible. So as you're sitting there staring at this computer screen that you've been staring at, unfortunately, for the past year, doing your studies and getting through high school, I applaud you for being able to get through this pandemic and being able to, well, we're not through it yet, but being able to continue to come to these kind of things and listen to your teachers. I am so indebted to my teachers for helping me get to where I am. And I'm so lucky right now that I can say that to them and they're listening to me. Every time I thank the teachers I've had. And Curt and I also through film school had some amazing professors that gave us so much incredible knowledge, hands-on knowledge. So thank your teachers. Thank you, Mr. Osano and Mrs. Overdevest, for seriously lighting the spark within me and keeping it burning and through the craziness of high school and continuing to work with these kids through screens and web cameras right now. Thank you so much to all you kids out there, all you students out there. Keep working hard. Don't give up. That little idea that you have in your mind, start writing it down as much as you can. For me, during all this, that has been a massive, awesome creative outlet that I can sit by myself with a piece of paper and a pencil and just write down some ideas. The goal when we get out of this and we're able to work solidly again is that you just have a massive pile of story ideas, right? Or if you are into photography and you want to be direct photography, you have a massive amount of photos you've been able to go out and take photos of. So you have those opportunities lying forward for you. All right, we got some questions coming in. I saw.
So, you know what? I saw there's Allison. I'm going to see if they want to unmute themselves and ask, so it's not just me. So Allison, do you want to unmute? Let me see if they can. She's asking. Go ahead, Allison.
I was just wondering, like, either what was the first set you got into, or how did you like get onto your first set?
Oh, that's an excellent question. I'll answer my part of it, and then Curt, I'll let you go to yours. I was thinking this past week how it happened, and it was through a family friend who was a line producer. And a line producer is the person that basically has the script or has the commercial concept and then puts the budget together and then does a lot of the hiring of the main crew positions. And so it was a family friend who I didn't even really know existed. It wasn't really a family friend. It was like a family friend from way off in the distance. And I was like, oh, I like video production. And, oh, I know someone that might know somebody that might know somebody. So if you start thinking about it, there are people that you might know that you've never talked to or really didn't know, but you mentioned to your parents, mentioned to your grandparents, you mentioned to your aunts and go, hey. So she was a line producer and she hired me onto this set. I think I got paid like $75 for being a PA, even though I was so willing to do it for free just to do an internship. That was how I got into my first set. Now, once again, living here in Hollywood, it's a lot easier to do that kind of stuff. One thing that I like to say is if you see a film set, this is of course back in pre-pandemic days and hopefully after this, you see a film set, the people on the outskirts of the film set are going to be your production assistants, called what's locking up the set, making sure no one steps into the set and disrupts the take, right? That person, let's say they're standing there at a park on a sidewalk, that's a PA. You can walk up to them and start chatting with them and say, hey, I really want to be in the film industry. If you ever need anybody, I'll work for free. I'm taking classes right now, I really want to get into this. That person right there, that's that set PA, they're not going to want to be that set PA forever. They're going to want to bring other people in. And so that other person that they're bringing in might be you. And you're able to then hopefully get your foot in the door. It's amazing the networking opportunities that filmmaking brings. The more people you start snowballing and meeting, and they know you and they have your phone number and so on and so forth, it grows into this massive snowball of contacts that you have. And it really just takes that one to start. I would also look at your teachers. They sometimes have friends, or even calling up local news stations. Everyone's looking for free labor. And that could be, look up your favorite movie that you just watched. Go on to imdb.com, and it'll usually say the production company. The production company, you can then find out sometimes their info or even their front desk, and walk up to that front desk clerk and say, hey, I'd like to intern with you guys. Is there any opening, any possible openings? You're going to get shut down and told no so many times. I know you've heard that a bunch before, but it really does happen. But it usually is just that one or two that gets that foot into the door. So never give up on that. Never, never give up. Curt, how did you first get on?
My first set was a professional set that I got paid on, was in college, and it was for this Canadian production, and I was a set PA, and I was in charge of crafty, and I got on through a friend of a friend in college. So I just want to stress how important, networking is, your network, the value of your network. It's how I got my job at Atlas Entertainment originally, is through one of my friends at school. Actually, he graduated 6 months ahead of me, and he was working for my boss, Chuck Robin, at the time as an assistant. And he finally got the hiring power to bring on the second assistant. And he said, do you want to come work over here? And I said, yes. So it is so important to know your network, grow your network, and figure out how you guys can help each other out. And I think the next thing, in terms of what Brandon said, just to dovetail into that, internship in college is so important. Once you guys get there, it really does open doors. You're working for production companies, you're working for either studios or management companies, and you're just getting the inside experience on how things are done. And you can get experience in development. You can figure out your way on how to get to set if that's where you want to be. There's so many ways to get that experience and to grow your network through these apprenticeship type internships, which are just fantastic. And even in high school, I believe they have something. I don't know if they have an exact internship, but they do have other things similar to that where you can go off and get experience too. So keep in contact with your teachers too. You never know what they might find. They might say like, oh, we one of my old students is doing something this weekend. Do you want to help them out? That pops up sometimes too. So, yeah. But in college, definitely look for that internship.
The ability to say that you're a student is massive, because people, when you're a student, people are willing to teach and willing to bring people on for that. So use that while you got it.
Perfect. So it looks like, is it Grace Mondos had a good question? This is really good. Is Grace on? Let's see. Want to unmute? If not, she asked, what is something beneficial to learn in college that is helpful in the field?
I would say get your hands on as much equipment as possible. The great thing, and I bet you Curt will echo this, for our film school that we went to, was hands-on, hands-on, hands-on. You had the chance to try out a lot of different pieces of gear, figure out how to use a C-stand.
You guys are so fortunate. You guys have these cell phones are so powerful. You can shoot 4K, you can shoot Dolby Vision. It's incredible what these things can do. And the rigs for these things aren't that expensive either nowadays. I wish I had something like this in high school. In college, you guys can go out and create, learn by doing as much as you can. I think that's the biggest thing, is it's okay to fail. And that's the biggest thing that I learned in college to help me, is you can get rejected 100 times. You can get that no, but it just takes that one yes that makes all of those no's go away. You know, when we go out and sell films, or when we go out and make films, some of them are going to work and some of them are not. It's just a matter of just keep going, right? Keep pushing forward. Don't use the rejection to hold you back. Use that rejection to push you forward, okay?
And I'd say one other thing that Curt just reminded me of is during film school and even during high school, the biggest lessons I remember are the mistakes I made, or that terrible film that I only showed 5 people, will never show anyone ever again. I learned way more from those failures than I did from the ones that I won a lot of awards for, because you learn by doing, and that learning that failure moment really, really sticks with you longer term than that beautiful accomplishment. And that's what I feel life is all about, right? We're constantly learning and trying to grow, and we learn from our mistakes. During school, being a student, you're able to make these mistakes without, like Curt said, you're not losing $300,000 during that one day because you made a mistake. No, you're just lost a day and you gain so much stuff. So it's a great moment for you to be able to make a lot of mistakes and learn. Get your hands
And
on
also,
gear and create.
I think now with the accessibility of, you know, the internet and all these other platforms, you can hear, you know, podcasts from, you know, writer directors in terms of what their experience have been. I think there's so much in terms of a wealth of knowledge out there between YouTube, podcasts. What's the latest one that I've been checking out? Sorry, it's this new app, Clubhouse, right? There's so many new avenues to hear people, creators, and their experiences. So you guys have so much available content out there in terms of how to do. I would say the next step is just by doing.
I mean, look at us. We're sitting here. We're telling you we're still learning stuff, right? And I was just listening to another podcast from the director of photography of the new film Mank, and he said, the biggest thing that I love about filmmaking is problem solving and learning new things from these mistakes that I'm making, and taking that mistake and fixing it, and then taking that to the next feature film. So even the biggest people that are making the biggest films out there are still learning.
Nice. Okay, I don't think I know Isabella, I couldn't get her audio. So she says, other than being prepared when you come to set, what else will help you with your first time being on a busy set to make the transition a little less hectic?
I would say be prepared to be adaptable. And I know it's not anything specific, but just be prepared. You're going to be as nervous. I still get nervous before going on to sets. So that's going to happen for hopefully the rest of your life, because then it still makes you understand how cool it is what you're doing, right? Be prepared for those nerves. Be prepared to tackle anything that gets thrown at you, and being flexible.
Yeah. And I would also say, whoever brought you onto that set, if it's a friend or a colleague, you know, if you can get 5-10 minutes with them, you know, a few days prior, and just ask them about that. You know, how is it run? You know, what are the personalities like? What is it like to be on this set? Because each set is different in terms of how it's run and the environment of it. So I think it's always good to get as much homework as you can in terms of what you're stepping into, so that you understand that, like, oh, this is going to be a fun set, or this is going to be a very serious set because of the content, or this is going to be a tough set, but you're going to learn a lot because of who's involved, right? So I think those are always things that you can do in terms of understanding what you're stepping into first.
If you get the chance, don't ask for this because that's a little weird. If you get a chance to read a script ahead of time, or see a storyboard, or it's a commercial, you just see concept, you kind of know what that's going on. That also is a cool thing to be able to do, but don't specifically go to a line producer saying, "Hey, can I have the script?" That's
I'd
not
say
cool.
that
But if you happen to get it,
that's not going to. If you have that ability, it's great, but I would definitely not ask for that.
Yeah. But that'll also kind of help you. What I sometimes like to do. Here's another little thing. I just did this in this feature I went to in Oklahoma. I would get there a couple days ahead of time And then let's say I'm supposed to be there on set on Wednesday. On Tuesday, I actually drive out to the location to see it. This was also because I needed to figure out wind and landing patterns and flight paths and all that kind of stuff. But just to kind of go out there and see, okay, this is where I'm going to be a park. This is where we're probably going to be filming up here. I kind of get a sense for it. That still, for me, gives me a chance to breathe a little bit better and sleep better the night before. So I know physically where I'm going. So there's no questions that I might be late because there's traffic or I don't know where I'm going to park, or if something happens, you kind of know where you're going already. That helps calm nerves and can be also a good little tip to get a good visualization of where you're going to be that next day. Hope that answered your question.
I'm sure. We're down to like a few more questions. Mr. Osana wants to know, Brandon, what companies do you create commercials for?
What companies do I create commercials for? The one I always like to say, because this kind of covers everyone in North American continent, is Six Flags theme parks. I've been directing their commercials for probably 5 years now, traveling all over the country and Canada, and then getting a chance to work for their future parks. So did some shoots here in LA to make it look like you're in Saudi Arabia or you're in China. That has been fun, and that's been the biggest ones I've been doing. Did a whole bunch for Ready Whip last year, the previous year that aired last year. So that's the big national ones that you've probably been able to see that I've been lucky enough to be able to direct. And things that are in the pipeline, there's a whole new campaign that Six Flags is going to be launching starting spring break. And so the hope is that we'll be able to get in and shoot something before spring break. If not, definitely before the big, massive summer season that's coming up, we'll be launching a whole new campaign. And no, I did not do the dancing old guy, the Six Flags one. I came in right after that. Right when I came in, we started directing different types of commercials. So that is the one that keeps me the busiest on a constant basis all over the country.
And then I'm going to combine this last one for you, Curt. I think kids want to know, what is it like working on a big movie set, DC Wonder Woman? Everyone loves Wonder Woman. And what is it like with those talent on set? I got about 2 minutes, sadly, but
they're honestly friends. They put on those superhero costumes and become these amazing characters that we all love on screen, but they take it off and they become regular people. Gal is, she is by far one of the nicest, warmest persons I've ever met. Jason Momoa is a bigger, larger than life personality, but he's just a big teddy bear. He's a great guy. Ben Affleck, he's gone through some hard times, but he's always been a great person, just in terms of just being a really warm person. It's really interesting. Some actors, you get the movie star angle in terms of how to treat them, and some of them want to make sure that you understand that they're human. Like Amy Adams, every time she sees me, she gives me a big hug. She's like, "Curt, how have you been?" I'm like, "Great, Amy." And I'm always like caught off guard by that sometimes, because we do put these movie stars on pedestals, but they are, at the end of the day, just people.
Yeah, I'll never forget the first time I saw the first famous person I ever saw on set. You're starstruck. But then after an hour or two, like Curt said, they became normal people and friends. And that is another fun little perk about working in this industry.
all right. Well, we are out of time, guys. So I know the kids want to know if you're willing to share any contact info so they can ask you more questions. So that's up to you guys. If you want to put it in the chat, let them know. And if not, I'm sure we can probably pass it out with STN. So
yeah, what I'll do, you can talk to me through Instagram. Our Instagram handle is alpha.omega.ent. And you can DM the company through there. And then if you're lucky enough to know Mrs. O, she can pass along my contact information to you. Or if you know Mr. Osano, follow us on social media, see everything that's going on. And if you are in the LA area and you're looking for that first contact to start creating that snowball effect of all your different people, that's another great way to start going through it, because people like to put what's going on social media, right? And you can follow them and keep in touch, and that's a good way to do it.
And Mrs. O, if you have a series of questions for me afterwards, post this, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'll send you back answers to that.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. So I'll see if anyone wants to throw in any last minute questions, and then I'll get those and send them to both of you if they have them. All right. Thank you guys so much. I wish they could all turn their cameras on and wave and say thank you. I'm sure if they were in person, they'd all be running up to you guys and asking more information, but I have to give the room back to STN now. So that is it. All right. Bye.
All right, guys.
Thank you so much for joining. Don't
All
forget,
right.
it's possible, everybody. You can do it.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations,
Thank you
Mrs. O, for
Bye.
your award yesterday.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Brandon. Good to see you. Nice to meet you, Curt.